Stuck in a storm, a woman seeks shelter from a mysterious and lonely man. She soon regrets knocking on his door as his strange behavior becomes more alarming than the raging storm outside. One night in his trailer, Patrick stares at a small vial in his palm thoughtfully. Just then, a storm hits the area followed by a knock on his door. Patrick yells at the person but is surprised when he hears a woman outside. The woman begs for help, asking him to give her a ride back to town. Patrick looks back inside his home before allowing the woman to step inside. The visitor apologizes for intruding, excusing that the sudden storm scared her. Dismissing this, the man just hands her a towel, pointing out that she is dripping all over his floor. He then tells her that she knocked on the wrong door since his car isn't working. She asks where to get a bus instead, but Patrick reveals that there won't be any until morning. He then apologizes for yelling at her earlier, defending that some kids tend to prank him by knocking on his door and running off. Hoping for another way out, the woman asks for a phone call instead, but Patrick ignores this and just offers to dry her clothes over the radiator. As she removes her shirt, Patrick notices the visitor's swimwear underneath her clothes, so she explains that she was at the beach earlier that day. Patrick finds it strange that she ran barefoot from the beach all the way to his trailer. He then starts preparing tea, but the visitor asks for a call again so she can contact the hotel she's staying at. The man diverts the conversation again, noting that he figured she was a tourist given that she visited the beach despite the cold weather. Once more, the visitor asks to borrow his phone, and this time, Patrick hands her a few coins. He reveals that he doesn't have a cell phone, but there's a payphone in the nearby park, which he can take her to once the storm stops. Finding this strange, the woman just asks for directions to get there on her own, but Patrick claims that the neighborhood's gates are locked after midnight, so she won't be able to get out by herself. This is because the residents were afraid to get raided, with Patrick reasoning that many old people tend to have done things to make them paranoid. The man lingers at this thought, so the visitor nervously takes the change from the table and gets up, thanking him for his hospitality. With the storm calming a bit, she decides to leave, but Patrick reminds her of the locked gate, which he has a key to open. Sensing something in her host, the woman politely refuses, assuring him that she can get out on her own. Before she can exit, however, the storm rages on again, so she decides to stay longer. To fill the awkward air, the visitor looks around while asking about Patrick's life. The man shares that he moved there after losing his job as an electrician. He quit after he accidentally stuck a screwdriver into a live socket. As he says this, his guest finds a compact and a locket in his items. Meanwhile, Patrick comments on how his experience made normal things boring. He muses about how fear and excitement feel identical, adding that near-death experiences make them feel alive. Suddenly, Patrick asks where she's staying, and at first, she says that her house isn't far from there. However, she corrects herself and says she's staying at a hotel. Still, he comments that everything else is far from their neighborhood and that he finds her face familiar. The man then approaches the visibly frightened woman, who returns the locket to him. Patrick comments that she is shaking, so he offers to let her shower. Unable to argue, the woman goes to the bathroom, though she stops in the hallway, sensing something from the bedroom at the end. Inside the bathroom, she notices how the lock had been removed. Frightened by her host, she turns the shower on but waits to see if the man will approach. The visitor hears him head down the bedroom, assuring her that he won't be going to her. With that, she takes a shower. As she does, blood suddenly pours from the pipes. The visitor panics, but she snaps out of it when the man knocks on the door. The water turns normal again and the man opens the door, making the visitor turn away. Thankfully, he leaves immediately, having only left a fresh towel for her. When she steps out, she finds Patrick warming soup for her. He's also left a sweater for her, which the man claims to be from his ex-girlfriend. He asks about her relationships, but the woman explains that she refuses to be in one since she can barely take care of herself. Patrick wonders if this is the reason she's traveling alone. The visitor admits that she does stupid things like that, repeating his words about how people actually enjoy being afraid. With this in mind, she thinks he's hiding in that area since people often move to quiet neighborhoods to outrun something. Ultimately, people can't outrun their misery and just enjoy it it with a different scenery. Patrick pours her bowl of soup and comments on how self-aware his guest is, noting that some women just blame others for their bad decisions. The visitor stares at the bowl of soup suspiciously but takes it anyway. As she walks away, Patrick notices her earrings, which he recognizes. She takes a seat but doesn't eat the soup. Instead, she asks Patrick why he wasn't asleep when she arrived. He explains that he's been having trouble sleeping, adding that old age turns their dreams into playbacks of their least favorite memories. Because of this, he's been avoiding sleep, though it just causes his awful thoughts to leak into his waking life. Patrick washes the pot where he'd heat the soup, though the water oddly turns to blood as he does. Still, he continues that he just wants to be new again, like being reborn. The water turns back to normal before he looks at the woman, catching her staring at the door. She questions how she managed to get inside the neighborhood if the gates were locked. Patrick just says that he was wondering the same thing. Suddenly, someone bangs on the door. Patrick tearfully stares at the door before asking his guest if she told anyone she was coming there. The visitor says no, so Patrick peeks outside, finding no one there. To the visitor's horror, the man locks the door afterward, excusing that it was the kids pranking him again. The man then goes to the kitchen and stares at the vial from his pocket. During this, his guest spills the soup into a boot, suspecting that it was laced with something. As the storm grows strong, the power goes out. Patrick manages to switch on a flashlight, speculating that a branch hit the power line, which means that the whole area might have been cut off, including the park. He volunteers to go and check, but jokes that he's afraid to wear his boots. Realizing that he knows about the soup, the visitor apologizes for pouring it into his shoe, offering to clean it up. The man dismisses this, acknowledging that she was just scared. He assures her that he didn't mix anything in the soup and that she can leave at any time. With the storm still raging, however, the visitor suggests resetting the circuit breaker, so the two check in the laundry room. The woman helps him hold the flashlight as he looks into the breaker, recounting how he experienced a blackout while alone with his bedridden father. He spent the night waiting for his father's ventilator to run out of battery, which scared him. While he's not looking, the woman notices a hammer with bloodstains on it, raising her suspicions back up. She also notices scratches on Patrick's back, so the visitor asks about it. The man pauses upon seeing this, allowing the woman to leave to get him something for his wound. She goes to his medicine cabinet where she finds earrings hidden in a bottle. She recognizes one of them and realizes that her earrings have been removed. Suddenly, Patrick passes by, making her jump and drop the earring into the drain. The visitor then places the others back. Before she can leave, however, she hears something from the bathtub. The woman pulls the curtain away to check but finds that the tub is empty. Amidst the strange things happening, the visitor then tells Patrick that she'll be leaving. He reminds her about the locked gate and invites her to play cards while waiting for the weather to clear. However, the woman demands to know if he took her earrings. Surprised, the man defends that those aren't hers. The woman then repeats that she'll leave but insists on doing so alone. With this in mind, she demands him to unlock the door, having seen him lock it earlier. Patrick denies this and the woman starts crying, growing more frightened by her host's actions. She begs to go home, but he reminds her that she's staying at a hotel. He also questions what he did wrong, listing the things he's done for her since she arrived. The woman refuses to be guilted into staying and orders him to let her out. Patrick becomes furious, ranting about how people like her invite themselves into his life then act as if he dragged them in. He interrogates her on who she is and what she's doing there in the first place, and in response, the woman yells that she wants the key. Again, Patrick tells her the door isn't locked, so she can leave. Carefully, the woman goes to the door and confirms that it's unlocked. When she opens it, however, she's greeted by the whistling winds of the storm. This forces her to stay. With this, Patrick deals the cards on the table to start their game. He also offers her a drink, suggesting she spill the tea he gave her earlier into his shoes to empty her glass. This finally earns him a small laugh from his guest. As the pair relax around each other, Patrick repeats that she looks familiar, but the woman doesn't think they've met before. Instead, she suggests that she looks like any other bartender working in small-town bars while running from something. The visitor asks if he is also running, and Patrick admits that he might be, though he clarifies that it's nothing illegal. In turn, the woman shares that she's running from the reality of herself, hence why she got punch drunk at the pub before the storm hit. Confused, Patrick recalls that she mentioned coming from the beach before she arrived. The woman just says that she was at the beach before the pub. He then calls her out for cheating at their game, so the woman jokes that he won't trust her now. The man merely replies that they've both lied, given that the sweater she's borrowing was from his wife, not an ex-girlfriend. He recounts meeting the woman when she asked for some chips at a gas gas station. He thought she was homeless, but it turned out that she fought with the store's cashier, so he refused to let her in. With that, he bought her chips and drinks, leading to their first date. He kept her belongings after she died of a fatal dose, which is why he has her sweater. Patrick then admits that he's enjoyed his guest's company, given that he's been lonely up there. However, he also comments that she lied about having come from the beach, given that it's too far to have traversed barefoot. Still, he doesn't care since their conversation has made him feel awake again. With that, he offers to take her to the phone booth whenever she likes. Comforted by this, the woman raises her glass and drinks. Only then does she notice a lipstick mark already on her glass. Suddenly, they hear a loud thud from outside, and Patrick hurriedly leaves to check on it. While alone, the woman hears a phone vibrating from the bedroom. She goes to it and, to her horror, she discovers a dead woman on the bed. Before she can react, Patrick returns, so the visitor hides in the laundry room. She then tries to escape to the skylight, grabbing the hammer from the toolbox, which oddly doesn't have the bloodstains anymore. The woman hits the skylight to break it, but blood drips from it, causing the hammer to be stained again. She then starts getting dizzy, confirming that her drink was spiked. From the light outside, she notices Patrick heading to the bedroom, so she tries to sneak out the front quietly. This time, however, the door is locked. Patrick grabs the woman from behind, but she throws him back, causing him to fall on the floor. She then hides under the table, but the man pulls her out and binds her arms and legs. He then forces her to drink something and places her on the bed, having put away the body from earlier. The man then shuts the curtains, so the woman attempts to break from her binds. However, he reveals that he is watching her, noting that he likes observing what women do when they think he's not looking. Still, the woman manages to find a set of keys from the other victim's bag, so she cuts through her binds with him. As she does, Patrick recounts that he met the other woman at the gas station, having used their meeting to make up the story about his wife. Just then, the visitor starts feeling weak while Patrick asserts that she's to blame for her circumstances. He tells her that he gave her the same medicine that killed the other woman, so the visitor desperately fights through the effects and crawls to the door. However, her captor grabs her, so she exclaims that she's gonna throw up, convincing him to place her close to the sink to avoid the mess. The woman uses the chance to grab a knife to stab him, but the man catches her arm just before she goes limp. As she slips off consciousness, Patrick recounts that his first victim came to him during a storm at the beach. She was a tourist who had a pulse line tattoo on her ribs. After he killed her, he waited for the authorities to find him, but they never did. This convinced him that he could do what he wanted. He then carries her to the seat and puts a blanket over her face, waiting for her to stop breathing. Once she dies, Patrick returns to the kitchen where the radio suddenly starts playing a song. He recognizes the song as the same one playing on his car radio when he met his first victim. This brings memories back, so he checks on the visitor's body and discovers the pulse line tattoo on her ribs, revealing that she's the same woman as his first victim. He backs off and suddenly finds himself holding the bloodied hammer. When he looks back, the woman's head becomes bloody. The corpse gets up, causing him to back away until he trips on the legs of another woman at his table. Patrick crawls away in fear as the apparitions of all his victims appear in his house. When he reaches the bedroom, they disappear, only for him to get pulled into the bed. While in darkness, he hears the sound of his father's ventilator until it stops, putting his mind back to when he was a scared child. Silence fills the darkness, so Patrick calls out to his father but gets ghastly wails in response. The man emerges from the bed covered in blood. He runs to the door but is blocked by all his victims. Mustering up his courage, he tries to go past them but ultimately falls to his knees. While on the floor, he sees the last woman he killed still eating the chips he bought her from the gas station. Police car lights flash from outside and someone knocks on his door. He hides in the kitchen, but the officers activate a searchlight to look into his house, shining over the bodies in his living room. With him on the brink of getting caught, the apparition of the visitor approaches him and offers him the vial as a way out. When he doesn't take it, she drags him back to the table where she spills the vial's contents down his liquor bottle. She offers it to him, reminding him that he wants to be reborn. His victims chant for him to drink, and when he hesitates, the visitor shoves the bottle into him, making him down the contents. Patrick fights through this and slams the bottle back to the table. Suddenly, his house is back to normal. There's no storm, women, or police around. Someone knocks on the door and the paranoid man looks back to the corpse still on his bed, hesitating. Eventually, he checks and discovers that it's only the neighbor's kids pranking him again. Patrick then finds the vial in his pocket but sees that it's empty. Realizing that he did drink the dangerous contents during his hallucination, he laughs and returns home where he soon collapses.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.